live, Woodward Bets, ready to rock it out here on a Monday, recapping everything we saw in week 3. Still have one game to go tonight, Monday Night Football. We'll cover that as well. Welcome in. We are Woodward Bets right here on the Woodward Sports Network. I am Beer, joined by my boy, Scotty G. Scott, I got to come up with, I know you're G Rising. Does Scotty G work for you? I got to come up with some kind of nickname for you. How we doing, buddy?
Oh, not too bad. You know, the nickname thing, yeah, I've been called many nicknames when I was growing up, but the Scotty G, I always felt like the Scotty was always something I felt like my grandma would call me. So, that don't bother me though, I guess. I'm never one to really care. If I know you're talking to me, you can call me whatever. It's all good. But the G Rising just kind of came from, the DFS circles, kind of like your handle name, just kind of like how you're beer makers fan there. And I kind of just hyphenally spelled out my last name, so it was kind of easy. I just kind of took it from my email address, actually, and I went from there. But G Rising, Scotty G, Scott, whatever you want to call me is good. But I do got to bring up, man, your background looks way better today than I was poking fun at you. I had to kind of bring it up here, the 1941 Jumanji setup. I thought you and The Rock were getting ready to do a movie together. I was like, man, I'm going to get in there. This would be a great movie. I mean, who's going to have the power, you or The Rock this time?
Oh, definitely going to be me. So when you have kids, they kind of start taking over your house, and the areas that you have become smaller, 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 whether it's my wife overtaking the closet or my kids overtaking my basement with toys and all kinds of stuff. So my area to work in and function in is getting smaller by the day. So hopefully a little bit better setup, but we'll get things rolling here. The point is, we want to get you some winners. So we want to recap some of the stuff we saw in week 3. What was good, what was not. Again, take a look at Monday Night Football, Scott, but I think we got to start. First, make sure you're following our Twitter, at Woodward Bets. We want to cover your sit-start questions, any betting questions you have. We're going to do that every Friday. So get your questions in early on that Twitter page, again, at Woodward Bets. Make sure you're also following the network at Woodward Sports. And let's just recap the local team here. I did real quick. We have to discuss what happened with the Lions. Now, I was kind of following it in passing. My daughters all play softball, so I'm watching the games. Get word that the Lions score. And instantly, I'm a Packer fan, but I think along the same lines as Lions fans sometimes. It's, what's going to happen here. You know that Baltimore is going to go down and somehow score and win this game. It's just what the Lions do. So not only do that, Scott, but in dramatic fashion. So first of all, you have the play before the field goal. Here we're seeing the field goal, 66 yards off the post. And of course, it doesn't bounce back. This thing bounces, and not only bounces, Scott, it hits the net with so much force. So an NFL record field goal here by Justin Tucker. Absolutely impressive. You can see the life just come out of the fans there. Everyone's excited. And then what in the hell just happened? You also have the play before that where it's clearly a violation. That the play clock is at 0. The play continues on. They don't call it. They get to kick that field goal. So hate to say SOL. It seems like a term nobody wants to hear these days, but man, SOL like to a new degree, giving up an NFL record, finding new ways to lose here with the Lions.
I mean, you really think about all the things that had to be perfectly lined up for that even to happen. I mean, it's just Lion-esque, but I was similar to you. I was out in the field with my daughter. She plays soccer, and I was out watching a game, and I overheard a dad saying that the Lions were lined up to kick the game-winning field goal. And I thought to myself, oh, that's cool. I like the Lions and the points. That's good. I was paying attention to my phone. And I looked at the time, and there was like 3 minutes left or something like that. And I thought, oh, this ain't going to end well. So sure enough, but then when I ended up getting home and I got settled in my my man cave, get ready to watch my 3 TVs, get the 4 o'clocks rolling, I end up flipping on Twitter, and all, of course, you could see was the hype about that field goal. And I thought, I just had to giggle. I mean, to see that they lost on a 66-yarder. I mean, how many other stadiums in the NFL would a 66-yarder even be viable? I mean, there's only a few stadiums that you could try something like that. So, but you know what? And how many of the kickers in the NFL could even make that kick? Justin Tucker's probably on the short list. I mean, we know he's a great kicker. But, man, It's just Lion-esque. But you know what? Hey, maybe at the end of the year when we get one of them top 5 draft picks instead of being down in the 10 or 11 range because of this silliness, we won't mind.
Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. You have your people in both camps. Should they tank for the draft pick? It's really hard to tell 50, 60, 70 professional athletes, hey, we're going to need you to lose all these games, okay? So some will be fine with it, collecting their check and losing these games. But just an incredible ending there. We got to hit on my team real quick just because it's our show, so we get to do what we want. Green Bay somehow does it again. Aaron Rodgers, you leave that guy time on the clock. You got to consider him one of the best ever to do it in those clutch situations. And hopefully this isn't just me tooting the Green Bay horn. A pretty impressive performance there at the end. Get the game-winning field goal to take that win. So a big win there in San Francisco for my Packers last night.
Yeah, that was a big win. I'd say at one point in time, though, I thought Devonta Adams got killed. I'm surprised he got back up. Wow, he got nailed. But, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's definitely one of the top 3 quarterbacks in football. So, yeah, I just can't get over his hairdo, though. That thing it still cracks me up, his long hair and his man bun or whatever he's got going on there. But, yeah, that's a little tough. And, bringing up your other people, some other people from Wisconsin, like I said before we got on here, I got to give kudos to your people up there in Wisconsin for that Ryder Cup. I mean, that was really fun to watch. I mean, the fans were into it. I saw so many Twitter posts. They're up in the morning singing songs before the sun come out, packed stands. I'm sure that helped push that team. Them guys look like they're having a lot of fun. Any golf fans out there, we all know that U.S. has had a tough go at the Ryder Cup, and to actually dominate the way they did was really cool to see. But there's some pretty cool clips. I don't know if you got to see when Bryson drove a 350-yard green. And as soon as he hit it, the crowd's going nuts. And when it lands on the green, everybody roared and went crazy. I was like, man, that must be awesome to be at that. So, and it was a really nice, the golf course just looked beautiful. It was in great shape. They did a great job up there. So I can't wait till the next one's in Rome, I guess. So they're going to be wanting some revenge. So, but I think that Team USA with some of these young golfers we have is, I mean, damn, Dustin Johnson went 5-0. We got Morikawa. Man, the U.S. golf is in such a good position, even without Tiger. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Tiger's probably going to be the next captain in Rome, I would assume.
Yeah, an exciting time for golf for sure, and it's picking up steam. It's a lot of fun to play daily fantasy golf. I'll tell you that. I'm not huge into golf. I'll sit down, I'll watch the Masters, I'll watch some of the bigger tournaments. Don't follow it as closely as I do football and some of the other sports, but you're right. It was an exciting time. As far as Wisconsin, we don't have a whole lot going on there, Scott. So we have sports, we have beer, we have cheese, and we have bratwurst. That's pretty much it. So we definitely know how to party. So good that they represented. I had a good time. I know it's a beautiful course out there. So USA, how can we be upset about them taking that thing down? So let's get into some of our plays of the week, our best bets. I got to give you a shout out here on our Sunday show. You called the Chargers not only covering that spread, but winning outright. So these are the kind of plays that we want to give you over the weekend on our Sunday show. All throughout the week, we hope to give you, obviously, winners in the daily fantasy, in your season long, in your dynasty leagues. We want to try to cover everything for you guys. But Scott, hell of a performance there by the Chargers. And even in fantasy, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, who I know we were both big fans of. Justin Herbert was a guy that we touted. So a little mini victory lap here, but wanted to give you a shout out on that Chargers call on Sunday.
Yeah, appreciate that. You just look at some of these games and then spots like that where, up down type spots. And I thought the Chargers were in a perfect spot to go in there and get a victory. I think the Chargers are really good. I think they're going to be definitely in the playoff mix up there. So a lot of times when you get a team coming off some big victories like the Chiefs had prior, I just usually like going to teams like that. But yeah, that was a good game. There was a lot of good games on Sunday for sure. I wish I missed out on a couple little bets, or I would have had a 6-team parlay. And now normally I don't like to play parlays, but I generally like to tease and do things. But I thought, hey, I'm going to put all my picks together and parlay them up for $50 and let's see what happens. And it was a pretty nice payday, but those are really tough to hit. You'd be lucky you hit 1 or 2 of those in a year. But yeah, it worked out well. DFS, I had a couple min cashes. I can't say, anything too proud. But yeah, you can't complain when you got a little bit of green on your screen.
Exactly. Yep. No major wins here, but was profitable here in week 3, and that's always the goal. You're going to have your rough weeks. So had a good week myself. What about top plays? How'd those work out for you? I know we were on a lot of the same plays. Saquon Barkley ended up panning out, even though I really like the Giants to win that game. Atlanta ends up taking that one, so did not hit that. But Saquon looked good. I know we were both on Eckler, like I said. The one that was kind of disappointing, and we'll stay local here, TJ Hawkinson was in such a good spot here against Baltimore, who had really struggled with those higher end tight ends. Now, again, it was Kelsey, it was Waller in the first 2 weeks, but I don't think Hawks is far off from them. We also saw our boy Cephas kind of disappear in that game. So what stayed consistent with the Lions, though, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, I think are going to have weekly value, especially in a PPR setting, going to continue to catch passes here. So what else from our top plays? Good, bad? We want to be very transparent on the show. We're not going to get it right all the time. Our goal is to get it right way more than we get it wrong. That's what we want to do here on Woodward Bets. So we're going to be transparent, though. We're not going to hide. Hawkinson was definitely a disappointment. What else? Good, bad from some of our plays of the weekend, Scott?
Yeah, Eckler worked out really well. I mean, Eckler, it just seems like the first week everybody was a little worried just because he didn't get any receptions. And then, of course, the 9. And then, but you mentioned Barkley and that whole passing attack with Daniel Jones. I think losing Shepard and Darius Slayton really kind of threw a wrench into that. Barkley did look pretty good. And then, it was a different kind of game script, a negative game script than what we had anticipated. And for those who are just kind of wondering, what that means is, like if a certain team's going to win, they're favored by 8 or 9. Generally, the game script is positive for that team, and the team who is going to be losing 8, they're going to be in a bad spot where they're going to have to be throwing. So, we like to talk about positive game scripts for players that when they're in good spots. So I think that kind of flipped around on New York there a little bit. I think they had to resort to the run just because they had lost 2 of their best receivers. And then you would think Galladay would have came out stronger than he did, but I think they just really abandoned that. Barkley was doing pretty well, so I think they just kind of stuck to that and end up costing them a victory, actually. So, hey Bear Herbert, I know you kind of poked fun at me for that, and we laughed about that. Actually, I had a couple people laugh about my Michigan Panthers reference, but they killed it. I think, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they look like a hell of a tandem out there in San Diego. So, that went pretty well for us. But yeah, Hawkinson hurt. I had him in a lot of my teams. He fit really well. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to go with Hawkinson or pay up for that Denver defense or go down and take the Raiders defense and then throw in Waller because it was like $1,000 price difference. That was really my last debate that I debated all morning. The rest of my team, I was pretty well set. And Hawk didn't really do too well. 2 points. He got me on FanDuel. But a lot of times that won't kill you. If you get one guy like that, it seemed like a lot of the ownership was kind of tight to just a few guys, and none of them really killed it. So it really didn't hurt us that bad. But yeah, if you lose that tight end and Kelsey or one of these guys has a huge week like they're capable of doing, it really puts you behind the 8 ball. So thankfully that didn't happen, or I'd have been smashed. But I actually had Boyd and Claypool on some of my teams, so they helped out a little bit. Cooper Kupp, though, we got to kind of keep our eye on him. That looks like something special going on out there with Matt Stafford. I did like Matt Stafford. He was a good call. Those guys are playing. They just seem to already be running on all cylinders, it seems. And what's scary is Stafford, how much time has he really had in this offense? Like, man, I'm kind of thinking they got nowhere but to go up even. And that's kind of scary, I think. How do you feel about Stafford? I thought they played really well.
Well, again, you could play the coming from Detroit angle, or this is going to end well for Matthew Stafford. It's just the way it's going to go. But yeah, all jokes aside, they look great. Offense looks great. Cooper Kupp on a worldly pace here to smash records. They just have such a good connection. And this matchup set up very well. We talked about Tampa Bay being very good against the run, and we both kind of thought Rams are going to go pass heavy here. That's going to benefit Cooper Kupp. We saw Desean Jackson finally get in on the action. I know Tyler Higbee was a guy I brought up on the show Sunday. He found the box again. The guy we kind of got to worry about here, Scott, Robert Woods has kind of been the guy on the side of the milk carton here. We haven't seen a whole lot out of Robert Woods. I know we keep waiting. Is this the week? Is this the week? Is this the week? It's not like he's killing you, but we're not seeing the production. It just seems Kupp is going to be the guy every week. Now, Tampa also was dealing with some injuries at slot corner, losing Murphy Bunting. I know that certainly helped as well. And you get in, he's not great. Now you get into another guy who's worse than him. So it was a good matchup for Kupp. But what do we do with Robert Woods here? I know there's probably a lot of season-long guys out there saying, I spent a pretty high pick on this guy. I know a lot of people debated, myself included, Kupp or Woods in drafts. Do we hang on here because this offense is so good? Do we look to maybe trade this guy? No, the value's not there. What are you doing with Robert Woods out there in fantasy land?
Yeah, I actually have been thinking about that today. I had our season-long draft with all my buddies, 25 years. We've been in a league together, and I have the draft board still in my garage. I got a TV out there, so sometimes I'll sit out there when it's nice, and that damn board stares at me, and I had that decision, Kupp or Woods, and Kupp ended up going like 5 or 6 picks later, and I grabbed Woods, and damn, it's just like, I mean, it's just it's such a difference between the two. It's so tilting at this point. I mean, I don't think you're going to get much for him in season long, so it's almost like you got to drop him at this point. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you might get something minimal from him, but to me, I don't know really who would want to pay up for him, or, I don't know what you're going to get out of him. So I think that's what's tough about it.
I think he's a fantastic buy low. If you have him, like you said, you'd be selling at pennies on a dollar. I wouldn't drop him. We just talked about how good this offense is. And there's going to be a point defenses are going to start scheming to shut down Cooper Kupp. Guess what? That's going to mean good things for Robert Woods, for Desean Jackson, for Van Jefferson, some of these other guys. So I think he's a good buy low. You're not going to have to pay much for him. There's probably owners out there panicking, trying to get out of Robert Woods. So I think it's a good time to go send some offers out and see if you can pick him up on the cheap. So just want to recap a few other things that stood out. Buffalo, very impressive in their win against Washington, 43-21 in that one. We kind of talked about Josh Allen in the open of our Sunday show as a guy that's kind of being forgotten. Well, he reminded us, hey, I belong in this upper tier level of quarterbacks, 358 yards in that one. Cleveland kind of controls the Bears, and I think that's another good call we had. I don't want to do all back padding here, but Justin Fields was a guy a lot of people were excited to play, Scott, so let's spend a second on this. Maybe Matt Nagy was right, because Justin Fields was not very effective here, didn't do anything on the ground either. So what do you think happens here with the Bears? They keep saying, actually the last I heard is now Nick Foles is in the equation. Any of the three could be the starter here, Dalton, Foles, or Justin Fields. So looked lost, offense looked terrible. The Browns controlled this game and stayed under as we expected. What are you doing here moving forward, Justin Fields? Maybe another guy either you could buy low on, or more likely in DFS, nobody's going to want to play him after this performance next week.
No, Justin Fields really struggled. I think at one point, I didn't see the final number, but I think he had 7 sacks against them, something like that. I saw it was a pretty high number, so obviously they struggled. I think it's tough for young kids to come in that played off their physical ability and maybe not so much in such an in-depth offense. I never really viewed Ohio State as like a, pro type offense. It always seemed like they, ran that quarterback option type offense, so I think Fields needs some time. I think he definitely has some skill set that's good for the NFL. But I think he needs some time under his belt. We see a lot of these guys. Some guys are ready just to come right in. They hit the ground running. And I think that does have something to do with the type program they were in college. But Fields, to me, I think he's going to struggle. But, there probably was some talk in that locker room. And, obviously with Dalton getting hurt, yep, Nagy was right on that one. I can't disagree that. Dalton was definitely the right play. And, maybe you come out and say to your fan base, hey, we're going to give him 3-4 weeks, kind of get used to the system here. Because, NFL did cut a week in training camp. So that's another thing that's hurting some of these younger players. I think he'll be better as he goes along. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And you're right about DFS. I think at this point, he's probably got that caution sign over his name now in everybody's mind. So, if he hits and runs for a couple touchdowns one day, those are the type scores that can get you up there in the 30-point range and get you, especially he's going to be a value. I can't see him going over 7K moving forward. So he's going to be a guy at the bottom of the barrel too moving forward. So definitely some value on some running side, but we'll have to see about that passing game as time goes on.
All right, well, let me see if I can sell you here because he gets about one of the best matchups that you could ask for next week. Gets the Detroit Lions at home, 5,200 on DraftKings for Justin Fields next week. I think we got to have him in our play. That could be the get-right spot. Now, a lot of people will point to, well, we held Lamar Jackson in check. I know you love to do the KMA segment, and I got to send one out to Hollywood Brown because I had a lot of Lamar Jackson. Hollywood Brown dropped probably 3 touchdowns in that game. So I know a lot of people are holding on to this. The Lions played well. He catches those balls, Scott, and this game's not even close. We don't have this whole debate at the end of the game. So Lamar Jackson's numbers could have looked a lot better there. So let's not write Fields off. I think that could be one to get him going. We saw the Titans kind of control the game at home against the Colts. Nothing really of note out of that one outside of injuries, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. Derrick Henry gets his 100 yards, 3 touchdowns for Tannehill. We already talked to Chargers. Scott were impressive. Herbert, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen all got there. Eckler. Clyde Edwards-Helaire ends up having a big game. I know that was a topic we discussed on Sunday at 4,800. We both kind of stayed away. So one we missed. I know a lot of people were on that one. Other games of note, Saints look great. Good call by you on that one. I know we were divided there. Alvin Kamara has a big game, 28-13 in that one. We talked about Falcons-Giants, not a lot out of that one. Bengals, nice win on the road, 24-10. Let's talk Jamar Chase here real quick, Scott. We saw no T. Higgins here. Even with limited plays, I think they ran half the plays of what Pittsburgh did. Chase, once again, just finds a way. 2 touchdowns in this game. On the other side, Najee Harris, not 19 carries, 19 targets in the passing game. Clearly, Big Ben is not getting protection. They're just dumping the ball down to this guy. So hit on these rookies real quick here. They're both putting up numbers here, but Chase just continues to find the end zone week after week.
Yeah, Chase, for a guy who can't catch, he seems to be doing pretty well. Everybody said he couldn't catch a cold, when the season started. But, I mean, come on. The guy went to LSU. He's just so quick, and we already see it. Burrow loves the guy. I think he's already got a connection with him. So, to me, Jamar Chase has definitely got a chance to be a wide receiver 1 moving forward here for this season. So, maybe in some season long, maybe you can try to sneak a trade with somebody for a Chase or somebody like that. I don't mind that at all. I was actually kind of looking around today to see if I could maybe muster something up because I am a Woods owner. So I do need to do something here and try to fill up that hole at this point, which is a hole. And, you brought up Desean Jackson. I think he's going to be a pretty popular waiver pick, but to me, he's just hit or miss. I mean, there's going to be weeks he might not have but 1 or 2 catches and get you, 15, 20 yards. But you know what? If he catches that bomb for you, we all know that he can rack up a 70-yard touchdown real quick. So, that's kind of sink or swim kind of play. But, I think Jamar Chase he's something special. I think that whole Cincinnati team, that's definitely a team in the NFL that's on the rise with all that young talent they got there. But Jamar Chase, for sure, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and just wait till that offense really starts to get going or gets put in a negative game script, like you talked about, where they're playing from behind, and these guys get some volume. It's really going to get going for Cincinnati. So an impressive win in Pittsburgh. We saw the Cardinals go to Jacksonville, pretty much do what we thought they were going to do. Disappointing game from DeAndre Hopkins, but James Robinson really the only bright spot there, along with Marvin Jones, who former Lion, who continues to produce there with the Jaguars, but they come up short. Denver shuts out the Jets. I don't think this is a surprise. I think we both like the under in that game on our Sunday show, and the Jets look that bad. This Denver defense looks that good, so they continue to win ugly. That Miami Raiders game was pretty interesting. I know you hit on it in the beginning, but back and forth, and Jacoby Brissett was pretty impressive. I watched a good portion of that game, and to march them down the field, come back and tie it up. Raiders end up taking that one in overtime, but A big performance by Derek Carr once again, almost 400 yards. Peyton Barber, kind of a surprise, Scott, going over 100 yards there. So let's stop at this one real quick. Raiders and Dolphins, what stood out on this one?
That was a good game, but I think that just is a tribute to they should have lost that game in reality, but a good teams find ways to win. So I think the Vegas Raiders got a good little mojo going over there. They got the fans. I'm sure all the players are excited to be out there. What a town to have your hometown, Las Vegas, and play in Las Vegas. That's obviously a distraction for other teams coming in on Sunday, playing. I can only imagine, it's probably like the college days with the Army. I stayed in a hotel one time in Cincinnati at a soccer tournament, and the Army was there, and they had guys standing there at the elevator making sure their players were all on time. And I kind of giggled, so I could kind of see that being the case, when you go visit Vegas Raiders. But I thought, but that was a game I was worried about them. They had some pretty big games before that, and then they think they're going to walk over a Tua-less Miami team, and Jacoby Brissett's a different kind of guy that we saw. He could run around with his legs, cause some havoc. Gave him some fits, but you know what? They hung in there, being the Raiders, and I think they got a pretty good mix of some talent there. Carr is just, I believe he's the NFL passing leader at this point. I didn't look, but I'm just kind of doing numbers in my head. I think he actually has the most passing yards. He's feeling good about himself, and he likes this Vegas offense, that's for sure.
Yeah, and they look good. Henry Ruggs is a guy I wasn't huge on, and you nailed Derek Carr, by the way, 1,203 yards, above Tom Brady, 1,087. So he's kind of running away with it. Kyler Murray in third is the only other guy over 1,000. So good start. Like you said, Brian Edwards has shown out in spots. Ruggs has looked good. Darren Waller, we know, is a monster. So it's 3-0 for Vegas. Who would have predicted that? Probably could have won some good money betting that early on in the season. We saw the Rams win. We talked about that one. That was one of my favorite bets of the weekend, was the Rams at home. Just thought they were an equal type team to the Bucs, Scott, and their defense kind of give Tom Brady fits. So Brady ends up getting there, playing from behind, throws for 432 yards. So the numbers were there, but the Rams pretty much dominated that game. And then the last game we had, another one I was on was Minnesota beating Seattle. Not quite as fantasy friendly as we had hoped in that one. 30-17. Big numbers from Cousins. Madison looked good in place of Dalvin Cook. I know you were on Justin Jefferson, had a big game there. The Seattle side, expected a little bit more in this matchup for Minnesota. So let's wrap up here. Your thoughts here in these final two games of some fun games to watch, the Rams game and the Vikings game.
Yeah, that Vikings Seahawks game I was on that one. I had some Russell Wilson. I had DK Metcalf. He gets that touchdown right away. I was excited. So I thought, all right, this is great. It started out good, but man, it turned into a bore that second half, especially that third quarter. There wasn't really much going on. Madison was running well, just took a lot of time off the clock. Carson had some decent drives there. So, yeah, it just took a lot of time off the clock. There really wasn't any turnovers either. So a lot of times, you get a short field, you get some quick scores, make the other team play a little bit up tempo. And that really wasn't the case. As soon as that third quarter came around, it kind of just settled in, and that clock was moving quite a bit. Like I said, I'm in cash with a lot of that with them guys. Would have been better if I would have played my Herbert team, but not so much. But you know what? The best thing about DFS is we always got next week. We got 15 more to go, so it's going to be a good time. And that's the thing with DFS, So a lot of times, like here, we want everybody to kind of understand. We've been mentioning, I've been telling everybody on FanDuel, the Sharks can't play anything less than $3. You guys can get in there and, try to get your feet wet and do some things. But in reality, in DFS, there's a lot of losing. It's tough. But, you play to hit those, the 10-timer, the 20-timers, the big ones. Generally, if you stay to your process, I believe it's going to come. You just got to keep playing. And you might lose 4 or 5 weeks in a row. But you know what? You'll hit that 1 week. And next thing you know, you're good for the whole season and even then some. So I know you and I have experienced that quite a few times. So generally I don't get too upset when like the chalky plays hit, which it did happen a lot this week. There was a lot of guys that we call chalk that a lot of people were talking about, and a lot of people were on. A lot of those hit. A lot of the pivot type guys that we moved off of chalk that thought might be in good place really didn't hit. So generally, I'm not going to win when it's a chalky type week. Maybe I'd be lucky to min cash, but when I throw in a little bit of chalk and mix in some other type plays and them ones that hit that are low, and that's when we really move up the tournament sheets. So, but yeah, like I said, we got. I've heard many of the greats say we always got the showdown the next day if you lose.
That's right. That's right. We're gonna talk about that here shortly. Showdown has really become a popular game in DFS. So a big game tonight between Dallas and Philly. We're gonna cover that here shortly. I just want to hit on this while you're talking about DFS and kind of a process. Is just what kind of player do you want to be? I think is really you got to sit down and say, you know, do I want to try to be profitable every week and grind out cash games and things like that? Do I want to take my lottery ticket shots and throw a couple things in the Millionaire Maker every week? Am I just playing for entertainment, which would be no different than going to the movies, going to the bar, going to wherever you go? So it really identifying what kind of player and kind of scaling it to that. And as we grow, as this show continues to evolve, we're gonna give you some tutorial type videos and things to help you out along the way. So I know a lot of people hesitant to come over from season long to DFS. We want to help that transition and get everybody acquainted with some of the terminology and learning your way. So that is to come as we move forward. So you can look forward to that. If you guys ever have any questions about DFS, please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us. Again, at Woodward Bets on Twitter. He's at G_Risen. I am at Beer Makers Fan and love to hear from you guys and help you guys out. Whether it's season long, whether it's DFS, that's what we're here for. We want to help you guys succeed and make money playing this game. So, Scott, let's hit on some of the injuries real quick before we talk Showdown here. I'll just kind of run through them, and you can say any ones that jump out to you. We saw Justin Herbert a little bit banged up with a hand injury, did return to that game. Justin Fields, like we mentioned, also a hand injury. He was able to return. James White, this one didn't look good. A hip injury, had to cart him off. So we'll see. That could be more opportunity for a guy like J.J. Taylor, who looked good in preseason. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson starts to enter the equation here, was a monster in the preseason. Damian Harris didn't do much of anything in this game, so could be some opportunity there. Pittsburgh, things get worse. Juju Smith-Schuster, a rib injury. So add him to Deontay Johnson, and they're starting to lose receivers left and right. Should set up very well for Chase Claypool. Both Shepard and Slayton, like you mentioned, leave with hamstring injuries. A.J. Brown left the game early with a hamstring injury. That one hurt. I liked A.J. Brown. I had him in some DFS lineups. The guy thought could bounce back here. So could be good news for Julio Jones. If he were to miss a bunch of time, Julio becomes the alpha there. Elijah Moore with a concussion. It's tough to trust any Jets right now. And then Rob Gronkowski left with a rib injury, but he was able to return to the game. We also had news today. KJ Hamler of the Denver Broncos torn ACL. He will unfortunately miss the rest of the season. So, Scott, a lot of injuries there. Which ones stand out to you? Which ones are the most fantasy relevant? Which ones are kind of really shaking the ground for you here? What are we looking at injury-wise?
Yeah, I think the James White one, like you said, I actually have him in a couple of my season-long leagues after the first few weeks I picked him up, so that didn't look good at all. I think he'd be lucky to come back in the next few weeks. But I'll tell you that Gronk hit that he took on the ribs, I was pretty concerned about Gronk there for a few minutes. As big as that fella is, to be look like he was in that much pain, I was a little concerned with Gronk. A little bit. He did come back, which I was happy to see for Gronk. I enjoy watching him, but I was a little concerned with him. And then them giant receivers with the hamstrings. I don't like hamstring injuries with any of the players I have, especially, guys that are quick. So that's going to be a concern too for these Giants moving forward with both two of their top receivers with hamstring injuries. So something to keep an eye on. As we said before last week, Friday is the big day for injuries. So kind of keep your eye on the Friday practices. If your guy practices on Friday, generally a pretty good idea that they're going to play. If they don't practice on Friday, really good chance they're not going to end up playing that day. So Friday's the big day for sure, which we'll get to as we move along. But just kind of wanted to keep that in note, so you guys can kind of pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah, and we'll be joining each and every day, so we'll keep things updated. Obviously, we're a little bit more plugged in than most. This is what we do, so I know a lot of you guys out there have jobs, wives, girlfriends, husbands, kids, sports. So let us do the dirty work for you, and we'll be doing that each and every day, keeping you updated throughout the week. Tomorrow, we will be doing waivers for our season-long folks out there. I'm in about 1,000 leagues, Scott, so Tuesday night really becomes waiver night for me. So we'll have you guys covered in the waiver department. Let's take a look at the game tonight. Again, Showdown should be a lot of fun here. We got a pretty intriguing matchup. Dallas and Philadelphia. Dallas home favorites here at -3.5. Big total at 51.5 here, Scott. And I know you noticed something that kind of stood off the page here as far as the bets coming in here. So far, we got 62% of the money coming in on Dallas in this game. So what are we doing here? Let's start from a betting perspective. We are Woodward Bets, so we got to get the people some winners here before we start talking Showdown. So who are you liking in this game? Is it something on the total, something on the spread? What do you got here, Eagles and Cowboys?
Yeah, generally as a rule of thumb, division games, I think generally I find a hard time handicapping unless you really have two teams with such a disparity. But I mean, these two teams to me aren't too far off from each other. So, looking at a spread like 3.5, generally the home team gets a 3-point bump. So obviously Vegas feels the same way, about a half-point difference. I think this over-under, though, 51 is a little interesting. I think we're going to probably see a higher scoring game, I think, today. And that gets to some of these prop bets. Just kind of looking at some bets, the player prop bets. I think I like the receivers prop bets, the total on the yards, and that being Devonta Smith, CeeDee Lamb especially, and then Cooper. Cooper, I think I would like the less of the three, but CeeDee Lamb is a guy that I think could definitely be like in a captain spot tonight, when we get to the showdown. But so I'm going to probably go with the number here. I think Prescott and that offense has just been running really well. I mean, just been doing really well. That Philly back end of that defense has been struggling. So I kind of like the passing game here. So I'm going to stick with that and probably take maybe a receiver on each side and then maybe go with that over.
All right, I'm not touching the total. If anything, I lean under, but I could definitely – these are two offenses that could put up points. These are also two teams that know each other very well. Like you mentioned, divisional games sometimes can be kind of drag-outs. I do like Philly on the line. I like the 3.5 here. I think Philly's going to be a lot better than people realize coming into the season. As impressive as Dallas has been, that defense still leaves a lot to be desired. So we know Jalen Hurts is going to be able to put up big numbers. I really like Devonta Smith here tonight, and we're going to talk more about him as we talk Showdown. But I like the props on him tonight. A receiving prop looks like it's sitting at 58.5 in the FanDuel Sportsbook. So I kind of like that one. That Dallas secondary can definitely be had. And I think Hurts a better passer than we've given him credit for so far. So I don't disagree with you. If I'm going anywhere in Dallas player prop wise, I do like some of the overs on CeeDee Lamb's receptions at 6.5. Amari Cooper dealing with some rib injuries. We'll see. That one makes me a little worried. If he takes a shot, maybe he doesn't finish the game. I know he plans on wearing a flak jacket tonight. But CeeDee Lamb and Devonta Smith, some of the overs I like. There's also one I like on Tony Pollard, over 2.5 receptions. I mean, this guy's going to be involved. We've talked about him and Zeke. I think his role is only going to continue to grow here. And then one guy to not forget about is Cedric Wilson, another guy we'll talk about here as we go into some of the showdown stuff. But on him tonight as well. So, Scott, let's talk showdown here. So the Cedric Wilson's over 26.5 receiving yards as a prop. I like that one here as well. That's one pass from Dak to me, and the guy's going to be on the field a ton. So I'll put that one down in my best bets column here as well, Cedric Wilson. So let's talk showdown. So you like CeeDee Lamb in the betting markets. I'm guessing that means you like him as a captain here tonight on DraftKings.
Yeah, between the two sites, with the showdown, the way they're set up, FanDuel's more, they don't give you any kind of price break. There's less players. So you generally, like everybody's going to have a quarterback in the captain spot and Dak Prescott. And I don't blame you, but, especially on DK, I don't generally like to play players like that. So yes, on DK, I think CD Lamb is my favorite spot. I generally do take all my showdown action over to DK instead of FanDuel, which I play a majority of my regular action, but I just kind of like how they have it set up. I don't think there's opportunities for as many ties. So I like to play over there. But yeah, CD Lamb, Cooper, Devonta Smith, I think are definitely in play to kind of try to be a little bit different from what I think a lot of people are going to have some quarterbacks.
Yep, I like that call on Lamb. We know he's got a high ceiling. If anything were to happen to Cooper, obviously his role grows, which again, part of the reason I like Cedric Wilson, it's not just solely based on if Amari Cooper gets hurt, obviously that's going to help him out, but we can't play the game that way and kind of count on injuries. I like him regardless. 4,400 here on DraftKings. My captain, I'm going to go with Devonta Smith. I mentioned him earlier. You get a nice little savings on him. So CD Lamb will cost you 14.7 in that captain spot. Devonta Smith, cheaper than Tony Pollard, who I like, no doubt. But this is a guy capable of very big games. We saw him have a big game in the opener here. So pairing him with Jalen Hurts, working in some values. Who are some values here, Scott? We both like some expensive captains. Who are you saving money with? I'm going to say Cedric Wilson here. You got any value plays for the people tonight?
Yeah, Ertz is hurt, so I think Ertz I'm sorry, he's not hurt. He's on the COVID list, so I didn't see yet. I didn't really look too far in if he was cleared to play today, if he passed his 2 tests. But
yes,
if not,
yep, he's back.
Okay, good. I was going to say Goddard would be somebody that I'd look into, but another guy for really cheap is Kenneth Gainwell. He played 19 snaps out of the 58. He had 8 touches. I just think this is a guy, he could take one to the house, and you're definitely going to be different if you have him. So he's a guy on the low end that I'd look at. You mentioned Cedric Wilson. I was looking at him. Noah Brown got a little bit of run and took some snaps from him last week. So I don't know if I'm going to be concerned about that or not. But Cedric Wilson, especially if with Cooper, has that ribs, flare up or anything in the game. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with like a Kenneth Gainwell as a potential low-owned guy that you could throw in there that definitely has a little bit of upside for you. And, man, if we see him running down the sideline with that football in his hand, clear sailing to the goal line, and you got him on your teams, I almost could tell you if you have him and he scores a long one, you're almost pretty much going to put yourself in the green.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like the Goddard call. Dallas has struggled against the tight end position, giving up the 5th most DraftKings points so far. They've also struggled with quarterbacks. So I don't see a scenario where Jalen Hurts is not somehow in the winning lineup here tonight unless he gets hurt. He struggles, so it kind of pairs well with my Devonta Smith play, even your Kenneth Gainwell play. Gainwell's a guy that's going to catch passes. So if I'm choosing between the quarterbacks, I love Dak, but I'm going Jalen Hurts here tonight. I just think he's going to run more than Dak is. We really haven't seen Dak do a whole bunch on the ground here. The running backs for Dallas, I prefer Pollard, but he's starting to get expensive here. I really like that Gainwell call, though. Blake Jarwin, one more value play for you, only 3,000 on DraftKings tonight. I know it's a split with him and Dalton Schultz, but I personally think Jarwin's the better player, starting to get healthy coming off that injury. I think he could be a nice value here tonight as well. So some of the trends as far as betting goes here tonight, the home team, 5-0 against the spread in the last 5, Scott. So makes me a little nervous with Philadelphia here. We'll see if we can break that trend. Eagles 1-4 against the spread last 5 games in Dallas. So again, going against my bet. The favorite is 8-3 against the spread in the last 11, and Philly 2-5 against the spread in their last 7. So a lot of trends here towards Dallas in this game. Does that make you think twice here about anything?
When I see stuff like that, I generally ask myself, if you don't think the Eagles know that they've lost the last few times in Dallas, and I mean, maybe not against the spread, because I've actually done research, and generally in 83% of the time when a team wins the game, they also cover the spread. So generally in my mind, if I feel like that's their record against the spread, it's probably not too off from what reality is with real scores. So in this one here, I mean, I think the Eagles are going to be motivated. Obviously, like we said, it's a division game. They know they've lost there the last few times. So for sure. They're gonna get their A game tonight. Dallas has had a few big games already, so I think the Eagles here, like you said, I think they're in a spot here. They're going to be focused. It's Monday Night Football. Everybody in the league and the country is watching. So yeah, you're going to get both these teams' best shots tonight. But yeah, I just think the Eagles maybe have a little bit more motivation when these first few weeks when teams start getting down. I know they like to hunker down like we saw with the Vikings. We called the Vikings probably go in there and win just because their backs are against the wall to be 0-3. So I just think there's just stuff like that here that comes into play that really does matter when you're kind of looking. So those trends like that just kind of tell me it gives every reason for Philly to be just as focused as they need to be going in here to get the job done.
Yeah, I mean the trends are fun to talk about and everything, but you look at it like new coach for Philadelphia, a quarterback that's barely been in the league a year and a half now. Like, some of these are hard to carry over. Like, yes, it's always tough to go on the road and win. Yes, it's always tough to beat a divisional opponent, but I'm not putting a ton of weight in those trends. If it was the same team over and over and over year after year, okay, those trends make a little bit more sense here. So I'm going to buck those trends, Scott. Not only am I going to say Philly, I think Philly wins this game. I'm going plus 158 on the money line. Mark it up. We'll see how we do tomorrow, but I like Philly to take this thing down. So not much action in MLB tonight. We'll hit on some more baseball tomorrow. Again, we'll cover waivers on our Tuesday show, get you guys all set up in your season-long leagues with some of the best pickups of the week. So not much to talk about in the world of baseball. Do have some big series starting tomorrow, Scott, though. Toronto and the Yankees, Philly and Atlanta, Houston, Tampa Bay, San Diego, and the Dodgers. So baseball is starting to get exciting once again. Playoffs right around the corner here. So quick thoughts here on some of these big games coming up tomorrow in these series for this week.
Yeah, another one too that we missed was Seattle and Oakland. That one's going too. But yeah, it's an exciting time of the year. You get down. This is the last week for all of us who are grinding out baseball. This is our last week here of some baseball. Then we're going to get into some playoff baseball, which being a baseball fan, I truly enjoy the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, this week here, it's almost it might as well be playoff season. I was looking at a scenario I was flipping through Twitter where if certain things happen this week, they could have a 5-way tie for the wild card. So obviously a lot of implications going on this week. So yeah, it should be fun. But yeah, tonight we only got 2 games: Washington, Colorado, Oakland, Seattle. But you bring that up. I was kind of looking. I already made a bet today. I like Colorado in the first 5 innings minus a half run at home against Washington. So I did bet that one today. If anybody's looking for a baseball play, I did go after that. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow. There should be some great series and a great last week of baseball.
Absolutely. So tail that bet and good luck on that one. I may have to jump on that one myself here with Colorado. Scott, definitely the baseball guy. He's plugged into the baseball. I'm so busy with football and waivers. Kind of put baseball on the back burner, even with my Brewers doing well. I like that bet here tonight, Scott. So that will do it here for Monday. You got something here? You look like you had something. Oh, you're on mute.
Not good. That's a rookie move, being on mute.
There you go. It's going to happen eventually. I'm just glad it was you that did it first.
My stinking dog was barking up there. The mailman must be up there or something trying to drop. My daughter gets so many Lululemon packages. The FedEx lady is like she's a frequent visitor over here at the household. But I was just going to say, your Brewers clinched, I think, yesterday or Saturday, didn't they? He was exciting time, man.
Even with the Cardinals kind of going on this historic winning streak here, I swear the Cardinals do this every year. They're down, they're out, and they always make a run. So, feeling good about my Brewers. I think they have the pitching to do well, and we know that's what playoff baseball is all about, shutting down the other offense. So it's been a nice story. I'm hoping we're this year's Tampa that wins all the titles. My Bucks got it done for me. We'll see if the Brewers can get it done for me. And Green Bay looked pretty good last night. So hopefully we're title town once again in Milwaukee. Now, I know our Metro Detroit audience does not want to hear that, but just keeping it real. I do like the future here for the Detroit teams. I think they're all doing it well. So we'll be covering all that throughout our time here on Woodward Bets. But our time for today has come to an end. We want to thank you for listening. I want to thank our boy Sawyer behind the glass for helping us out. Scott, any final words here for the people? Outside of make sure you're following our Woodward Bets page. We're going to continue to grow that thing. We really want this, again, to be community oriented. So follow that, give our socials a follow as well, follow the network, and download the app as well on Google Play or on the App Store at Woodward Sports. So, Scott, final words, final thoughts here for Monday.
Can't wait. Got a little Monday Night Football tonight, so I'm going to sit back, watch a good game. Got some decent weather here in Detroit. I love this fall weather. So, yep, going to get out there, get a little stuff done here before that game, sit down with me, probably a 6-pack of beer and some pizza, and I'm going to kick my feet up and watch the game tonight. So it should be pretty fun.
There you go. So, again, we'll cover waivers tomorrow. We'll talk some baseball. We'll recap Monday Night Football and what we saw, and maybe take an early look at some of the Week 2 action. Don't forget, any trade questions, any sit-start questions. I know there's people out there that are 0-3, are panicking. We want to help ease that panic. Send your questions to us at Woodward Bets, and we will help you out. So, for Scott, for Sawyer, I am Beer. We are Woodward Bets. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you tomorrow.